What's going on, folks? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Andy Electric Geek, and in this video we're going to be taking another look at a 4K title. This time it's going to be Second Sight's recent release of Drive on 4K. So it's going to be a little bit different from my typical video. It's not just going to be a review as such, it's going to be more of a comparison video with the existing, or original shall we say, Blu-ray that came out for Drive. I've had this since, I think the film came out in 2011, so I think I've had this since late 2011. 2012 maybe, and I watched it a lot back then, but I have to say it's been a minute since I last watched it. So the aim of this video basically is to talk more about the video and the audio quality of the 4K disc and how it stacks up with the existing Blu-ray, so you can ultimately make that decision as to whether or not you should upgrade to Drive in 4K if you're a fan of the movie. Because let's face it, they're not cheap, the old 4K Blu-rays, are they? Especially if you're a bit of a sucker and you go for the box set like I do. Speaking about the box set, I'm not going to do an unboxing in this video as such because I've already done a fully fledged unbox video. As you can see on the screen here, I have a right good look at it, I give you my thoughts on it, and you'll get a right good look in 4K of course of what's inside this box set. So if you're interested in that, there will be a link in the description in the video for you to check it out. And if by the end of the video you're not convinced and you think you should just pick up on Blu-ray but you haven't got it yet, then stay tuned because I'm going to give this away and I'll explain how you can get your hands on my copy of Drive at the end of the video, so stay tuned. Thanks for sticking around, folks. If you're new to the channel, I cover mainly 4K Blu-ray. I do home cinema equipment, reviews, rankings. I do videos with regards advice on what kind of TVs to buy, and a little bit of gaming as well. So if you're into that kind of thing and you're just passionate about movies and seeing them in high quality as I am, then please consider subscribing to the channel. And you can follow me on social media, Facebook, all the links are in my link tree in the description. So please check that out if you're interested in more content. Anyway, so the movie Drive itself, like I say, a bit of a slow burner for me. Drive, I remember when the trailers came out, it was maybe a bit misleading. I think people thought they were getting Fast and the Furious, but that really wasn't that. I mean, if you've seen it, there isn't actually a hell of a lot of car chases in the movie. It's super stylish, super slick, it's got a killer soundtrack. I would describe it as being a bit of a cross between Taxi Driver and maybe Bullet, you know, for the kind of how stylised it is. It's like those two films drenched in neon, basically. Much more violent, or more, the violence is more in keeping with that of like Taxi Driver, I would suggest. But yeah, those are the kind of vibes that I get from this movie. A kind of modern day version of those. It takes the best elements of both and kind of puts it together in a superb way. Everything's in sync. The soundtrack, the pacing, the action, the cinematography, the subtle performances that are delivered by the cast. I just think it all works, and the more you watch this movie, the more you appreciate that. And certainly when I watched it to review it on 4K after 10 years now and watching this a few times, I thought, you know what, I'm happy to give this my 5 lightning bolts, so to speak, my 5 out of 5, as you'll see there on Letterboxd if you follow me. I put a wee bit about it on there and I gave it 5 out of 5. So definitely worth checking out Drive if you've not seen it. And as I say, if you haven't seen it, remember you'll get a chance to get a hold of my Blu-ray copy at the end of the video. So let's get into the actual video. Is the 4K transfer worth your while? So let's talk about, as I say, video first. So the important thing to note here is that it's the original 2K master that I'd imagine will be the same one that was on the Blu-ray that I showed you earlier on. The negative hasn't been scanned. It was shot in 35mm, so it is on film, but they've not scanned it for whatever reason. I don't know if that's budget reasons, if Second Sight haven't had the money, or having scrutinised the Blu-ray and the 4K now, it might even just be that they realised the 2K master was of such high quality that they thought they could get away with, or maybe that's a bit cheeky saying get away with, but they thought it would certainly be good enough to just be upscaled to 4K, especially when they're giving it the Dolby Vision treatment, HDR10 obviously, and then Atmos on the audio side of things, but we'll come to that later. So I went into it kind of knowing that this probably wasn't going to be a night and day 4K transfer, because it's not that old a film for a start. It came out in 2011, so it's not like we're taking something from the 70s or 80s and, you know, giving it the scan and the 4K treatment. So what I will say is I fired it in. I hadn't looked at the Blu-ray in years. Fired the 4K disc in and I was very impressed. I knew that there's a lot of scenes in Drive that happen at night time, like the opening sequence is a kind of getaway sequence where he's helping two kind of crooks rob a place. Very highly stylised, cracking close-ups of the car interior and close-ups of Gosling's face. And you've obviously got all the kind of the street lighting. You've got the interior lighting in the car. It's just a really cracking scene that lends itself to HDR, so I was kind of looking forward to seeing that. And admittedly, when I put it onto my TV, I was impressed. The highlights weren't like blinding, so like the various different lighting, like the helicopter searchlight, the kind of the sheen of the highly polished dash on the car that he's driving at the beginning, that was there. There is a little bit of specular highlight, but it's not like eye-searing. It's not super noticeable. I would say it's a subtle use of HDR Dolby Vision. But yeah, blacks are nice and inky, and there's some lovely contrast going on in those kind of nighttime scenes. The detail is razor sharp in this film. There's a couple of kind of interior shots, close-ups that happen, I think, around about chapter 3, chapter 4, when Ryan Gosling's kind of meeting Carey Mulligan's character for the first time. They're a bit soft. It's almost as if they've zoomed in on the original footage, and it's lost a bit of clarity. But other than that, it's pretty much minted. It's very razor sharp detailed, and if you didn't know it was a 2K master watching it, you'd be easily fooled that it was native 4K. That's how crisp this is, and that's why I think they've not bothered to rescan it, as I said earlier. So as I say, the film is a really cracking, pleasing presentation. As I say, the detail's so sharp. When it comes to the car interiors, close-ups, the level of detail on, most notably, Ryan Gosling's like driving gloves, that awesome, absolutely freaking awesome jacket that he wears with the scorpion on the back. You can even see, like, you know, the little fine frayed bit of stitching and stuff on the scorpion itself. Super detailed, so can't complain there. And it's just an overall very nice presentation. So there was nothing I didn't like about it, other than maybe just the specular highlight and HDR not being like in your face present. But that's more from a point of view of like being a tech geek, alright? Not every film calls for that, and I understand that. So it was a very, really nice presentation. But obviously it's a comparison, so I fired the standard Blu-ray in, and I was just shocked at how good that Blu-ray is. Like, I put it in and I really expected there to be a difference in the colour grading. I should note at this point that it was the same gradist that they brought back to do the HDR upgrade, if you like, and there's very little difference, and I wonder if that's maybe been to the 4K transfer's detriment to a degree, because if he's the original guy and it's already been highly praised in the movie for its look, it's so stylized, it's so iconic, then if someone's done the colour grading for that originally and they've got so much praise, then I can understand that they're not going to come in, they're not going to want to overly change that and mess about with that too much, take risks as such. And I think when you look at the 4K and the 2K with regards to the colour timings, there's next to no difference, certainly that I could see. And I scrutinised it initially on my LED TV, which is where I kind of view my films, just because that's got the surround sound set up. But because I could hardly see any difference, I took it to the OLED, especially for the nighttime scenes and stuff, to see if maybe I was missing something, you know, if the specular highlight and the lighting when it comes to those kind of darker scenes would show up more on the OLED. But there's still like no difference, to be honest. I really struggled to tell them apart. So as much as it's a nice presentation on the 4K, when you compare it with the 2K standard Blu-ray, I just didn't think there was enough of a difference. Like, for me, the detail's still remarkably sharp, especially when, you know, your TV's upscaling it anyway, which is kind of what's happening on the disc, because it is just still the 2K master, and the use of HDR isn't overly present. So once I put the 2K in, I was just amazed at how good that Blu-ray looked, and then that took the shine a little bit off the 4K. So that's my thoughts on the video. It was basically just that, is it a very nice 4K presentation? Yes. Is there maybe a slight uptick in like detail and, you know, very nuanced use of specular highlight when it comes to, you know, the kind of metallic sheen off the car interior, the outside of the car? Yeah. Is the 4K how I'd like to watch it? Yeah. Is it $24.99 better though if you've got the Blu-ray? I don't think so, personally. But that's what my thoughts are with the video. On to the audio though, and what they did this time around is they've given it Dolby Atmos. So I like to see that in 4Ks, especially with the older ones, that they don't just stick with the original track. Drive has a cracking track, and I remember enjoying it before. The original one was a DTS 5.1 mix. What's quite cool is that they've kept that original one, the DTS HD 5.1 track, on it as well. So you've got the option of both, and if you're that way inclined, you can chop and change between the two and see what you prefer. But I found that the Dolby Atmos was a bit of an upgrade. I feel like they know now that the soundtrack's so iconic, so they've pumped up the bass. When I played, you know, Night Call at the beginning, and I switched between the DTS to the Atmos, it was much more punchy on the Dolby Atmos. And the most notable use of the overhead effects in the film, and maybe the only real kind of use of it, where it's done well, was in the getaway scene when he parks under the flyover to evade the chopper, and you hear in the height channels the chopper kind of panning overhead, and then slowly kind of fading off in the distance once it kind of gives up the search. I compared that with the DTS track, and obviously it doesn't have the height channel, so it kind of gives the effect, it kind of pans it right round the room, so it sounds more like the helicopter circling you at ear level, whereas with the Atmos, it's much more realistic to what's happening on screen because it's kind of front heavy, and then you hear the rotor blades and the height channels. So the Atmos definitely is more in keeping with what actually happened on screen, although the DTS is nice, you know, you still get that immersion because it's, you know, you feel you're being surrounded by the chopper, by the police kind of thing, but I just thought the Atmos is much more precise, and that's the kind of best example I can give of the use of the overhead channels. But yeah, just more bass, a little bit more balance, a little bit more punchy, but not a massive uptick, but I would definitely say it's an improvement over the DTS, and that's the one that I'd want to listen to. So that's my kind of thoughts on the audio. Don't know if it's worth a $24.99 upgrade, but you're definitely getting an upgrade with the audio. On to the special features, and I'll just have a wee look at them here just to remind myself. But there is a fair helping of special features, and it's good to see that Second Sight, in a world where special features are disappearing, the Second Sight have went to the effort to give us something on this, because this was quite an indie release, and on my original Blu-ray, there wasn't actually all that much on it. It was just a Q&A with the director, the theatrical trailer, and a couple of TV spots and some galleries, which did have some cool early concept work for like the posters of Drive and stuff. But what's a shame is that those haven't been ported over. So if you're a completionist and you want everything special features wise, you may have to hold on to your original Blu-ray. I'm not that bothered, hence I'm giving it away. But what's on this is much more detailed. You have new exclusive audio commentary by Nicholas Winding Refn and the Guardian film critic Peter Bradshaw. Drive, a conversation with Nicholas Winding Refn, I can't believe I keep having to say that, and editor Matt Newman and composer Cliff Martinez. Cutting a Getaway, a new interview with Matt Newman at 3 Point Turns, a new video essay by Lee Singer. So there's a lot there, but it's just scanning through it. I've not watched them all yet, I have watched sections of them, and they're quite low production value. You know, they're basically like Zoom calls, if you like, and they're not even HD quality, they're almost like SD quality, which was a little bit disappointing. It's great they've went to the effort, and I appreciate them maybe doing it on a budget, and that a lot of the people that involved in this film, certainly directors from Denmark, so there's maybe that logistic issue, hence the Zoom call, and it's maybe done during COVID as well. So cut them a wee bit of slack, but it's just, you know, that way when you get a proper making of and it's got a production value, it's a bit more engaging to watch, whereas I think watching effectively a Zoom call for about, I think something over an hour long, it's just a wee bit disappointing. But again, you can't fault them for giving this classic film some special features, because the original release was obviously lacking anything in detail. So it's great it's on there, and I'm not knocking the content, but just a little bit of an amateurish presentation of it, if you will. But plenty on there, so if you're into the film, plenty to get your teeth into. So ultimately, what is my thoughts, my verdict on Drive in 4K? So here's it put simply. Drive in 4K looks absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. However, if you have the Blu-ray, it's not a night and day step up, and that's largely down to the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, they're still using the 2K master, although I don't know what they'll be able to squeeze out of it, because it's such a good 2K master at that, now that I've watched the Blu-ray again and it's fresh in my memory. You're also getting the Dolby Vision grading on it. Now, I've got Dolby Vision capable TVs, OLED and LED, but I'll appreciate and concede that they are not like top tier, they're not the best that money can buy. So maybe when I'm watching it, due to the kind of limited tech I've got, although they're good capable TVs, maybe I'm missing something. And of course, this review is subjective, so I'm saying I didn't notice a huge amount of difference in the Dolby Vision, and that, you know, there was only subtle use of specular highlight and very little change, I thought, to the overall colour timings used in the movie. Maybe because it was the same colourist, I don't know. But yeah, just not all that much of an impact, although it looks beautiful. Just that when you put the Blu-ray in, I honestly couldn't tell them apart. If I walked into the room and someone had changed about, I would maybe struggle to tell the difference. So that's my only slight issue with it. If you're a casual fan of Drive and you have the Blu-ray, I don't think you need to get this in 4K, unless you really want to see the special features. And what's cool about the Second Sight release is they have actually released it on Blu-ray also. So for $14.99 you can just get the Blu-ray, which will look as good, I would imagine, as the one that I've got and I'm talking about, but you also get the Dolby Atmos and the new special features and the cool artwork. So that might be a very good option if you're a casual fan, you've not seen it before, and you just want the Second Sight release just to get the Blu-ray for $14.99. The standard edition is $24.99, and that massive box set I've got is $54.99. that's a cracking box set. If you like Drive and you want that box set, I can't recommend that highly enough, regardless of what the transfer's like. So I can certainly recommend the box set. As I said, remember to check out the unboxed video. I would suggest if you want it in 4K and you're upgrading from a Blu-ray, wait till it comes down in price a bit. It will no doubt end up, you know, in a 2 for 30 or something, or just come down in price on Second Sight's website. So that would be my kind of advice for that. But I don't think, no one's going to be disappointed with the 4K if they're buying it, if that's their first step into it. It's just manage your expectation if you're coming from a Blu-ray. So all that considered, I would give Drive on 4K 3.5 out of 5. So that's my thoughts on Drive on 4K. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it's given you a bit of insight into what to expect, certainly audio and video wise, from Drive on 4K. And let me know if it's influenced you. Are you going to pick it up? Did you have it already? What's your thoughts on the movie? Do you agree with me? I like having a chat with you guys, especially subscribers, in the comments. So please hit up those comments and let me know what you think. But as promised, I did say I'd give this away because I hate trading these in for like an absolute pittance. I'd rather it went to someone who loves film and somebody who wants to see this for the first time, or just wants to have it in their collection. So if you want to get your hands on this, just simply comment on the video. And I appreciate people might want to comment and not necessarily want the movie, so I'll discount you if you haven't given me the answer, which should be quite easy to find. But Drive was originally based on a novella, which is included in that $54.99 set that I've got. And if you want a copy of the Blu-ray, just give me the name of the author in your comment as well. Like I say, a quick Google search will sort that out for you. But just stick that in the comment, and that way I'll know whether or not to include you in the draw for the Blu-ray. I'll just pick someone at random and I'll get in touch with you via the comments, and I'll arrange getting this out to you. Thanks for watching. As always, I've been Andy Electric Geek. Take care, keep watching 4K movies, and I'll see you in the next video.